Hi guys, it's Down Under Monkey. I'm going to start a new thing on my channel aside from my normal picking videos. I'm going to do feature lock of the week. So I'm going to pick a random lock off the shelf, somewhere out of them, bring it down here, give you a bit of a rundown on it, pull it apart, show you what's in it, and put it back together. If it needs any upgrades, we'll try and do it while we're going. This is the pick and gut videos tend to get pretty long, so I figured I'll just show people what's inside of them and I can pick them at a later stage, or if I get time at the end of the video, if it's a short one, we might pick them. So I decided to start with this one. This is a Lockwood 270S70. This is a nugget of a lock. This thing, it's one of the heavier locks that I own. Let's grab the scale out. Give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So if you can see that on the scale, 1 gram shy of 1,100 grams, so 1.1 kilograms. That is a hefty little lock. As I said, one of the heaviest ones I own. Size wise, they're actually pretty big too. I've got small hands, so just about everything looks big. But here's a Master Lotto lock next to it. Look at the size difference. You got nothing with the little Master Lock on that. I use a Master Lock because most people have seen or held a Master Lock. So it's a good comparison. I don't have any bananas in my shed. Nice lock. Let me give you some dimensions. Have a look at it. So it's got a 14mm shackle. Let's go that way so you can see it. 14mm shackle. It's basically 34mm deep. The body, call that 66. You can call that 70, and an overall about 104. So it's getting up there with one of the bigger locks. Very neat lock, steel, so everything's magnetic like that. Always good to have a magnet on your bench, just don't put it near your camera. It's got a little dust cover down here. Let me just turn on the light so it makes it a bit easier to see. So let me just grab a pick. There's a little dust cover slash security enhancer. This really makes it difficult to pick the lock. The shutters are spring loaded, so when you open them they spring shut. Now when you're putting a tensioner in there, sometimes you get a bit of false feedback on exactly where the core is going. So I'm moving those shutters at the moment with my pick, but it's not moving the core at all, so you can get a bit confused with that. It is a springless padlock, so do that, no pop. You got to pull the shackle out, and it's not spring return. Everything is manual on this padlock. Still nifty though, and I'm not disappointed in it. So down inside here for dismantling, it's a Phillips head screw. There's also one in this side, but the shackle's in the way. What holds the shackle in to stop it coming out is a little roll pin in the corner here. Goes all the way through. You pop that out and you put the key in and turn it, the shackle comes off. So I'm going to show you that now and get into it. Apologise for the shaky camera and the noise. This may be a little loud and the camera is not going to like it because it's on a mount on my bench. So that's just a flattened off piece of crap screwdriver I now use as a drift. Alright, now a little roll pin's out, that's metal, that'll stick to your magnet. So when I put my key in now and turn it, the whole shackle comes out. You'll see the flat spot on the back of the shackle here. Basically that's where that's sat, and when you come up here, the bottom of the shackle hits that roll pin and won't come out any further. That's how you pull that out. Now if we take a look down inside there, 2 Phillips head screws, and they hold on this faceplate, which also holds in our little keyway protector. So easy way, pop it face down sides of a magnet. Yeah. Find your Phillips head screw. They're not super long, so don't go wild on them. When you tighten them back up, they are stainless steel, so be careful. Stainless steel screws tend to strip out pretty quickly if you're not using the right tool. Now, if I lift that up, all the guts just drop out. You can turn it up the other way, but this is more fun, right? So if we have a look inside there, all steel, just milled out to take the cylinder and the rest of the stuff. Very solid nugget. So there's your balls, we'll just fling them over to the magnet so we don't lose them. There's your actuator. Screws are stainless steel, like I said, they won't stick to anything. And you've got here, this is your key and knob or kick style cylinder. That's what I'm calling it, because it looks like some of the kicks that I've seen in other locks. It has this little stopper here, which only allows you to turn the core just shy of 90 degrees. So it's not like any of the other locks that have the inspection or quick change holes in the bottom, but it does have a blocker to stop you going too far. And that's also got to do with the faceplate too. The faceplate, when you put the key in, will only allow you to turn it maximum of 90 degrees. There's a little locator there which actually pushes and that goes in like that. So it actually pushes the cylinder down and stops the flop that you've seen in some of my other videos, which seems to be an accidental security upgrade, the floppiness. But it just really annoys me. I don't particularly like this movable section on top, but hey, it's there. Now you got this little shutter thing. I'll give you a bit of a close up on this. 4 little springs, 1, 2, 3, 4, but there's nothing. When you take the faceplate off, there is nothing stopping these from popping out. Do be careful, because when those little springs go flying, you're not going to find them again. They're really small, but you can see how it sort of goes together. They just push off the outside walls of this little housing, pushes them together. When you open it, they just snap back. Oop, except for that spring nearly popped out. So keep that somewhere nice and secure, otherwise you're going to lose parts. When you go to pick these locks, some people like to pull the lock apart, take this out, reassemble it, and then pick it, because trying to spread these can be a bit of a pain in the bum and give you false readings when you're tensioning, as I mentioned. So faceplate. Alright, let's get into this core. Now, because it's the old style Lockwood key, I'll give you a new one for comparison. These are the Lockwood Asa keys, is the top one. Lower ones are just the standard old Lockwoods. There's probably not going to be anything super high security in the core. Ones with these keys generally came with spools, generally. Ones with these keys didn't. It's just the difference between being Lockwood or Lockwood Asa Abloy. So let's get this going. Pull it apart. I'll just move the camera a bit and we'll show you roughly what's in it. And I do have in my pinning tray, you can see up here, I've already got some Asa Abloy shallow lipped spools ready to go into this, because out of all the stock locks I've got, I like to pull them apart, get rid of the standard pins, put in some spools and make it a bit more challenging to pick and a bit more fun, more feedback. Beveled key pins annoy me because you don't get much out of it, and the debate sort of rages. Do you use heavy tension, light tension? My advice, do what's comfortable for you. Don't worry about what anyone else says. If it's not working for you, do what you do. Some locks need, I could pick this Lockwood could use heavy tension, I could pick the next Lockwood and use light tension, so it varies from lock to lock and style to style. So as you can see in there, nothing super special about the core, just some anti-drill pins, 1, 2, key pins, room for 6, but they only ever came pinned as 5. Not really 100% sure why. If anyone's got any idea, feel free to let me know. I am learning like the rest of us. Just some people have a bit more knowledge. 3, 4 and 5. They're all standard. Let's bash out those anti-drill pins. Put the core in there. Where's my tweezers? Turn them around. These are not steel key pins. Although they look like it, they aren't. Alright, let's go up in the Bible. We're from the front. And there's a standard key pin. Standard key pin. Key pin, bloody hell, what am I talking about? Driver pins. And all standard drivers. Pop out the little springs, which are, ouch come, that one was hiding. They are very, very little, these springs, compared to other Lockwoods that have springs that are almost double the length of these. I will give you a close-up of these in a second. Okay, so that's inside. Don't worry about the spools, that's what's going back in. So standard driver pins, standard key pins, a couple of anti-drill pins for the front, and your little actuator on the back. Alrighty, so I'm going to put this back together with the spools because I like spools. I never thought I'd say that, you know, I used to always struggle with these tiny little ass aboy shallow lipped spools. Let me see if I can give you some sort of a comparison with a different spool so you can see what I mean with shallow lipped. Okay, so this little one here is an ASA shallow lip spool, and that's a standard old school spool. That's actually out of an old Lockwood as well. These are very interesting to pick. I personally use light tension, but you can really overset these with light tension as well. So that's where it comes into just picking locks and practicing, knowing what products you're picking and knowing what works for you. So back in here, I like to pin from the middle of the stack back and then push my follower through and go back to the middle of the stack and back out, because when you're trying to reach all the way down in the back, sometimes you can lose things you can't see properly. So that's just the way I do it. So I'm going to start from chamber 4. I may eventually put in, oh bloody hell, where's that other spool? There. I may eventually put in a 6th pin and get a key that suits, but for today I'm just going to do 5. Not really change it too much from its standard, and I also don't have any 6-pin keys ready to go with a set of pins at this current point. So popping in the spools. Nice and easy. Tiny little springs too. Not sure if it's because of the style of the lock they have the tiny little springs. Maybe the key pins jam up, or maybe there's not enough room up here. If you put a long spring in, they might get really squashed. Not really versed on why they do things with keys in a certain order. Anyway, I'm always looking for new information and I always take it on board. So if anyone's got any ideas on why people do things with certain spring lengths, feel free to let me know. I figure the more you know, the better you'll be, right? Okay, back in the core, still runs smooth as, and there's a little bit more play in that now, but that's alright. Put that over there. Get our little actuator. Just trying to remember how things go back together sometimes too. Makes it easy for you. So I knew that little right hand, this little notch here, sorry, trying to get focus, the little part of the actuator here with the hole in it was on the top right if you're looking at the cylinder like that. It's a mental catalogue that you've got to try and make while you're pulling them apart. As I said, it's a lot of people do destruction videos pulling things apart, but they put them back together off camera, and it doesn't help you if you've lost a part or you're trying the same thing and you mix up the order. But hopefully we can all learn together. Alright, now I'm going to turn this upside down. I'm going to pop in the ball bearings. 1, 2, and I'm going to use my pick to separate them so they're in either side of their chambers, in respective chambers. Going to get the actuator. Now you'll see there it's got 2 notches. They face the ball bearings. Now when the notches are facing the ball bearings, in that position the lock is open. When they face away, that's forcing the ball bearings into either chamber and it's locked. So I'm going to just pop that down there. Ooh, it almost landed exactly where it needs to be. If you look at the back of this cylinder, it's got to line up with that actuator. So if you can imagine that turned around, that's almost exactly where that's supposed to be. I'm going to slide that in there, see what happens. Not quite right. So let's pull that out. And when I say not quite right, and you can see here, the cylinder actually sits proud by about 5 mil from the body of the lock. So I'm going to pull that back out. Oh, it just popped in as I moved it a little bit. See how now the cylinder sits flush with the body of the lock? If that doesn't sit flush there, your little oh no, it fell apart. I was telling everyone to be careful with it. If it doesn't sit flush, this little piece won't go in. So that goes that way. Yeah, so as I said before, be delicate with this. Now, the way this goes back is, if you can imagine, the key needs to go in like that. The key actually hits that little milled out section down the bottom. That's where the key sits. So you can match that up with the lock. Sorry, focus issues. Like that. Put it that way, it might not work so well. Put it that way, that's how it's designed to be. So we just sit that on top, give it a turn till it locates itself and it's sitting nice and flush. Grab your faceplate, there's your little pin. The little pin has to line up over here, so like that. That secures the cylinder and the faceplate. Now, getting the screws in, when you drop them in like this, they can bounce all over the place and end up upside down. So I like to put my lock upside down, stick the screw on the top. Let me just move this up so you can see. focus out here a bit. Yeah, so I like to put my screwdriver up like that, bring the padlock down on top of it, and then it generally lines up with the hole straight away. If you're trying to go this way, because these are non-magnetic, if they're magnetic, no worries. You stick it to the screwdriver and down it goes. But when you're just trying to drop them in there, they do end up like that. So this is just the easy part of this assembly. Back up. Alright, now make sure everything works. Working fine. We're going to grab our shackle, pop him back in the top, lock it up, and the last thing to do is get our roll pin. That almost went all the way straight through on its own. And give it a little tiny tap to secure it. And that's it. That's the Lockwood 270S70. Pulled apart, still functional. So like I said, I might do this once a week, and if there's time I'll do a pick. Not time at the moment, this is running on 20 minutes, so I do apologise for the length, but hopefully everyone's had a bit of a look at how this works, and if you've got one and you were unsure at how it goes back together, hopefully that helps you a little bit and gives you a bit of info about the lock. Thank you so much for watching. If anyone's got any input into what I'm doing here with the feature locks, feel free to leave a comment. If you've got any locks you'd like to see dismantled, again, leave a comment or shoot me an email. I'll see if I've got it and we'll see what we can do about it. So thanks for watching that. Till we see you again, take care.